Now let's move into some controversy here. AJ, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann, number 2. Not as nearly of an impactful fight as we kind of thought it was going to be. Was not a quick finish the way that it was the first go around, but the difference that we saw this time is that when Ryan Spann lands, when he can actually put his fists on you, terrible consequences, right? Anthony Smith's eye gets all blood or black and blue, puffed up right there. Could have been a broken orbital, who knows? Almost gets him out of there. Ryan Spann was so close. But AJ, I think this is the story that we're seeing time and time again, which is why it's kind of hard to bet on Ryan Spann, is because he's very inconsistent to a degree. Both of these guys are, right? But in the sense of, you had the finish there, and instead of attacking the finish relentlessly, he kind of mixed himself into some grappling, allowed Anthony Smith to regard, recover, and from there, it turned into a really close round 3. AJ, in that third round, did you have it 1-1? Winner of the round 3 takes it all. Is that how you had it?
I did, Derek. This was an incredibly close fight. And to touch on what you were saying before about Ryan Spann, this was kind of the epitome of how his career is going. This fight right here, man, all he needs is a grazing left hand just to swell up an eye, like, nonetheless. All the power in the world. And then you just take your foot off the gas. And maybe it could have been because in the last fight, he got starched pretty quick, got submitted. So maybe there was something in the back of his head saying, don't push too hard on this guy because he can finish me. Maybe that's there. But even that, man, like, this was a rough one to watch for Ryan Spann because it was such a close fight. And even his expression at the end of the fight when the judges read out that Anthony Smith won this, wide-eyed, like, how in the world? And you go back, you watch, it was a very close fight. I had it, like you said, Derek, 1-1 apiece, whoever wins the third. And honestly, it seemed like Ryan Spann had the biggest moments in the third round, but just did not want to push the pressure, did not want to push the pace. And maybe I'm wrong on this assessment, but tell me what you think, Derek. Was it the fact that he almost had Anthony Smith out, but then still wasn't able to finish, that the judges gave Anthony Smith a little more credit for staying in there? Maybe that had to come into play. I hope it didn't. I hope that's not the case. I hope they saw something else going on. But to me, Ryan Spann did have more of the bigger moments, but less of an output, which seems to be one of his kryptonites, if you will, for Superman Spann. What do you think, Derek?
I think you hit it on the head right there. Like, Ryan Spann had the big moments, but Anthony Smith had more moments. You know what I mean? And when I say moments, they weren't big moments. They're tiny moments, right? But, like, tiny moments compiled over 15 minutes adds up. So I do think that, like, in all honesty, man, as a Ryan Spann bettor, as somebody who was really banking on Ryan Spann winning, ultimately, the way that I saw it was Anthony Smith won 13 of the 15 minutes, kind of. You know what I mean? Ryan Spann had a couple of big moments, and in those big moments, did enough to sway some rounds, right? But the leg kicks that Anthony Smith was putting on Ryan Spann, which is almost crazy. It's like, you see how Smith is getting debilitated by leg kicks, and then you don't think, well, if he throws them to me, I better be able to check a couple. Like, we're not thinking that. That's just leg kicks in general across the board. But AJ, real quick, let's talk about that assessment that you had just mentioned right here. You know, I have to pull up the coveted MMA Decisions website, and then we need to talk about some of these scores. So the people who have it in the Smith camp are far and few in between. This is like 5 people, right? The rest of the MMA media scores see it for Ryan Spann. This one is kind of crazy. 29-27 Ryan Spann. I don't know about that, but I think that realistically, it was a close enough fight not to yell robbery. Like, right? Like, we're not over here upset, like, oh my God, that was a robbery. But it was like, damn, super close fight. You should have did more, correct?
Very correct, Eric. Even the day of, excuse me, because this was a morning fight. I thought, I was like, maybe not robbery. I'm interested to see if Derek's going to be shouting out, hitting the horns for the robbery alert. Got to get the mask on, but no, man, it was not. It was a good fight. I do think the right man won, even though it was by a slim margin.
All right, well, plus 450 decision victory for Anthony Smith. Kind of a weird spot for both of these guys, man. In my rankings, I have them neck and neck. They're kind of neck and neck here, 8 and 10. But Ryan Spann, it's just like another step backwards, brother, another step backwards.